Hi everyone! So thanks so much for being a part of this workshop. This is the second video which will go over the different materials that you're going to need. This workshop is divided into two different recipes, both of which can be used for inks or for dyes. Inks are going to be good for working on paper, and dyes will be good for working on fabric. So the passive heat recipe is going to be great for families with young children. Everything is non-toxic. You'll be able to use everyday materials, and you'll be able to use the sun as your solar passive heat source. So it's a pretty simple recipe that still gets really cool results. So that will be the first recipe. And then the second recipe will be for active heat. And so you will need something like a stove, or like I have this induction cooktop. This is portable, and so I'm able to use it inside and outside, and travel with it as well. So you can use whatever heat source you might have. A stove in your home is great. But that does bring me to, you need to make sure that you have parental permission to use any of the tools or the materials that you'll be seeing in this video. The second recipe, the active heat source, is going to be great for families with a different age group of children. It's also great for adults, so just the parents in the group might really enjoy this process. And also it could be good for older teens. Just make sure that you have parental permission to be able to use anything, any of the materials or tools, especially the cooktop. So let me go over the passive heat materials first. So this is great for little children because we're just going to be using tea. So you can use already used tea bags. I have just some brand new ones because I didn't drink enough tea in order to kind of save the used tea bags. You need, if you have new ones, you can use 2 to 4 or as many as you would like to create a darker color. Or you can use used ones. I would say you need a minimum of about 6 in order to get a really, usable color. So tea bags are important. And this is also, I'll point out that tea has something called tannin in it. And so tannin is listed on the vocabulary list. If I use any words that you're not familiar with, make sure you refer to the vocabulary list that is also a part of the materials for this workshop. Tannin is a naturally occurring substance usually found in trees as well as in some plants, and that has a natural fixative in it, and so that makes sure that the color that you might put into fabric will stay longer. And so tannin, why I chose these recipes that you'll be having in this workshop is because there's a lot of tannin in the material, so you'll have color that will last a long time. You'll also need for the passive heat recipe, and this is probably the most important thing besides the dye stuffs, the tea, is a glass jar with a nice lid. It needs to be tight fitting. And this is going to be where you're going to put all of the other materials, and then you'll put this out in the sun or in a windowsill in order to create the heat necessary for the color to really generate. The tight fitting lid is really important because we're using natural dye stuffs, and that means that they could over time grow mold. And so we do not want mold. We want to make sure that everything is really airtight. So a tight fitting lid is very important. So those are the only things besides water. And so I have some water here. I have a small container of water, and this is going to be great for pre-soaking any fabrics. I'll go into the fabrics in a moment. This is also, once you have used the water up, you'll be able to use this to put any trash in, so the used tea bags, etc. So it's nice to have a small container. And using warm water to start will enable the color to start faster. So using warm or hot water just from the tap will be a good idea. If you only have like hose water that might be cold, that's going to be fine. It'll just take a little longer. So those are the really important materials for an ink or a dye. Obviously you need the fabric, and the fabric needs to be natural fabric. This is a vintage napkin, and so a natural fabric is going to be cotton or linen or silk, anything that's made from a plant or perhaps from an animal, like silk is made from silkworms. You will get different colors depending on what kinds of fabric you use. And so I have a cotton here, and both of my samples will be cotton. But you could use anything you may have lying around that is a natural fabric. We're not making a ton of dye, so that means that you'll need to keep it small. So a bandana, a napkin, a baby onesie, those would be perfect sizes. If you're making an ink, then you'll also want some perhaps watercolor paper or a thick paper, whatever thick paper you may have lying around. Cardstock is great. If you just have notebook paper, then use that, that's fine. The only thing that might happen with notebook paper is it might wrinkle. Paintbrush is going to be great for getting the ink onto the paper. It's also a great way to test out the color of the dye. You can kind of dip it into the dye and then put it on paper and find out what color. You'll also need a Sharpie. This is going to be so you can label your jar. You can see that I've already started the labeling of the top with the ink dye, so I'll be labeling what's in here and then the date, and that will just help me remember how old everything is. Some optional materials. This is going to help if you are making ink. If you don't have these laying around, you'll still be able to make ink. It just won't last as long. So cloves are really important. Who knew that cloves would be a preservative? I didn't know until I started making ink. And so these are whole cloves. You might have those lying around. We don't often use them a lot, so you probably have a nice jar full. You'll need 5 to 10 of whole cloves. Or if you happen to have essential oil that is clove essential oil, then you'll just be able to use 5 to 10 drops of the essential oil. Either of those will work, and it will act as a preservative for your ink, so it will last longer. Something, probably the most particular material that for either recipe, is something called gum arabic. Gum arabic has been used for a long time by artists to create inks and paints that will lay better on the surface of paper. So it won't just sink into the fibers of the paper, it will actually be on top. And that actually helps preserve the color and helps artists be able to control the ink or paint better. If you happen to have gum arabic, then great. If you don't, then you can find it on Amazon. You'll also see a list of resources in the resource list. If you have gum arabic, then you'll also need an eyedropper, so that way you can take out the gum arabic and add it to your ink. One last optional ink making material is rusty bits. So perhaps you're like me and you kind of collect little treasures along the way on walks and things. Rust will darken the color of any of your dyes or inks. Make sure that if you're using this with young children, that they're safe materials, or perhaps eliminate that, but you might have some rusty bits lying around, and that can be helpful to really darken the color. So onwards to some other things that you'll need for both inks and dyes. If you are doing the active heat recipe, then you are definitely going to want some gloves. If you don't have gloves lying around, or you don't want to use them for this purpose, then you'll just skip one of the steps, and I'll let you know what step as we come to it. You'll want extra water as well, so I have a nice container of extra water, so that way I can add some when I need it. I have cleaning supplies such as paper towels and dish towels. If you are not in an art studio or not outside, then make sure you cover everything with plastic, and that way if you drop anything, get little dribbles, it won't stain anything, which is unlikely to happen, but still could happen. Active heat recipe, you will also need, very importantly, a pot. And the pot needs to have a lid. And this is to make sure that we keep all of the steam in there and we bring things to a boil in a good way. You will also need your dye stuff. For the active heat recipe, we are going to be using avocado. We're going to be using just the pits and the skins. So you will need to make sure that you have collected these for a little while, and they need to be extremely clean. Any little bits of avocado flesh that's still embedded on these items is going to prevent the dye from working. So make sure that you clean them really well. Once they're clean, then you can put them in a plastic bag and store them in your freezer, so that they'll last indefinitely there, and they will continue to be fine to work with for fabric dye or ink for a long time. I have both skins and pits in here. The pits are going to work without the skins and vice versa. You can use either. The pits make more of a pink, and the skins make a pink brown. I'm going to try to get as much color as possible, so I'm mixing them together. You can opt to separate them out. Your pot needs to be big enough for your fabric and for all of the dye stuff. This is a really good size for something like this. And then I have a stainless steel pot, and so that is not going to affect the color at all. It's going to be very neutral. If you're using an aluminum pot, it will mean that your color will probably be a little brighter. And if you're using an iron pot, it will probably darken the color. Metals change and modify the inks and dyes, so you can play around with that if you'd like. If you're using the avocado pits and skins, then best practice is that you use an old pot that you're not going to use for any kind of food preparation. This is non-toxic, so if you do happen to use something from your kitchen, it's not the worst thing, but best practice is to have an old pot, something from a yard sale, something that you just have lying around, and then it's an art supply from there on out. You will also need at least 1 spoon or perhaps some tongs, and this is going to help with the active heat recipe. It will also help you kind of grab the fabric out of the jar or the pot, so that way you can kind of grab things a little bit more. It's also great to have a funnel lying around, a metal one. This will be great for ink making, transferring liquids to another container. And I have a whole bunch of different kinds of sieves. And so I have a little one, I have something called cowboy coffee that my mom had. It won't prevent all little particles from going through, but it fits in jars really well. I also have this larger one, and that way you can kind of scoop out some of the avocado bits, and so that can be really useful. If you don't have those things, then everything is going to be cooled down before we take out the avocado from the liquid, and so it'll be okay to use your gloved hands to do that if you don't have any of the funnels or the sieves. You can get around it. So those are the materials that you're going to need. It seems like a long list, but you can just maybe approach the passive heat first, see if you like it, and then maybe move on to the active heat recipe. I will be going through, as we actually go through the step-by-step process, I'll let you know which materials you'll need and if there's any alternatives, but this is a really good overview of what materials you will need to have for both the passive heat recipe and the active heat recipe. All right, move on to the next video so you'll know how to first create the passive heat recipe.